Hey everybody, it's me Stacy here at Scrapbooking Made Simple, scrapbookingmadesimple.com, and it's time for our Make It Monday event. Oh my gosh, I have Couture creations for you. It's so good. So it's time for our Make It Monday event, and this is an event we host ideally every Monday. It just depends whether I have something spectacular for you or not, and if not, well then we don't have a Make It Monday that Monday, but so far it's been every Monday. We bring you what may not be the latest from manufacturers, but certainly is the greatest from manufacturers. We go out and I poke them and say, what do you have in that warehouse of yours that you need to get rid of? Because some products you have high hopes for it, but sometimes it just doesn't work out, and for one reason or another, the sale through wasn't what they were expecting. So that is what today is. I have over $90 worth of product for you from Couture Creations for $19.99. And yes, I saw this product on another really big, huge, substantial online retailer, way bigger than we are, huge. I saw that they had this product as well for sale, but it's $19.99 for one item. And I have the whole bundle for you for $19.99. Woot woot, woot woot. Half the fun of my job is negotiating. The other half of the fun of my job is the classes that I teach. I think the part I dislike most about my job is the bookkeeping. Blah. Because you can't get creative with the books. Let me tell you, I can get creative with stamps, I can get creative with dies, I can get creative with paper, but oh no, not with the books. So today it is all about Couture Creations, and I have got one amazing bundle for you. One amazing bundle. Again, retails for over $90. Your price is $19.99. If you are watching this during the premiere of today's class, you will notice that there is a live chat going on over here. By all means, please say hello, and join us in the live chat. We would love to get to know you. Just keep in mind that the product will not go live on our site until after the premiere of this class today is done. Now, if you're watching this and you don't see a live chat over there, you're like, what's she talking about? Well, that means it already happened, and you can certainly head on over to scrapbookingmadesimple.com to see if the product is still available. And for those of you who are ordering the product, once this Make It Monday is over, next Monday, I will move this YouTube down to a new playlist that says Past Make It Monday Events, product no longer available. That way you can come back and watch the class once you receive your items. So I'm going to tilt on down. I've got a lot to do today in not a lot of time. In just under an hour and 15 minutes, I have a Zoom with Penny Black, so I can't miss that. So we are going to get started for today. I hope you all enjoy what I have for you. Some of you may already have this product because we have carried it before, but for $19.99, I'm hoping that this opens up a door to many more of you who would have loved to have had it then and now can have it because we're keeping crafting affordable. Couture Creations is helping us do that, and we appreciate Aussie Andrew, Aussie A-U-S-S-I-E, Aussie Andrew from Couture Creations. Are you ready to get started for today? Because I am going to go over a little bit about colored pencils versus watercolor pencils. I think it's a great time to show you the difference between the two of them with the product that I have. Okay, I'm going to tilt on down. We're going to get started for today. Let me pull my bundle. Here it is. And it's good to see everybody. Happy Monday. Happy Make It Monday. All right, so there we go, and let me zoom on in and in. Zoom. Maybe straighten out just a little bit. And, okay, up a little bit, maybe, no, down a little bit. I'm my own camera person, sorry guys, I try my best. Okay, so, bundle, Aussie Andrew, $19.99. Retails for $92.92. On sale for $19.99. Let's see. And this is the one and only bundle on a Make It Monday. It's one bundle. That's it. So let's see what we've got inside to make your heart happy. First off, he's given you a couple packages of bling to help like highlight some of the other product. Love the colors, right? Beautiful. Yay. So love the bling. That's in there. I've got a really great die. This is a really useful die. And I love it when you use it on with white. It just looks really elegant and really pretty. So a great die. And then we get into the stamps. So I have Vintage Blooms. This is the peony. Let's see if I can, here's the peony. Now I know that on another online retailer site, these are $19.99. Yikes. Well, that was the price. Here's the rose. But what if I could give you everything I'm going to show you for $19.99? Here is the daffodils. Here is the tulips. So when we had these on sale, we put them on sale for $12.99, which is the retail that we're using and not the $19.99 seen on another retailer site. If that were the case and we did say, oh yes, these are $19.99, you'd have 20, 40, 60, 81, 120, and $3.99. So $128 for $19.99. But when we launched these, we launched them at $12.99. So that is how we came up with our value of $92.92. However, if you were to go shop someplace else, you would find this one for $19.99. That's like getting all the rest of this for free. Now, what are we going to do? We're going to play a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit about colored pencils. And maybe I like this one. Maybe I take this one. And maybe I take that one. We'll see. I'll play. So there is a difference. There was quite a bit of talk about watercolor pencils versus colored pencils. I did colored pencils not too long ago. Gosh, and I think a Make It Monday. I can't remember if it was a Make It Monday or a Thursday, but I did colored pencils in a recent event. And there's a little confusion between colored pencils and watercolor pencils. First off, if you're playing with watercolor pencils, you want to make sure that the word water is somewhere on that packaging. Otherwise, you're just playing with colored pencils. And they do act differently. So I'm going to use both of them quickly today just so you can see how they react. Now, I think I'm going to take this one, which is my Stampin' Color Vintage Stamps, and this one is my daffodils. There's the image of it, so it gives you a really great image to emulate if you want to try and color it like this. It is a clear stamp set. So I am going to need an acrylic block to use it. So let's pull over my Couture Creations blocks. I have contacted Ozzy Andrew to see if we can get these back in stock. I'm not sure if we can or not. We are sold out. So I've got my image. Boy, it's like by the hair of a chinny chin chin that it fits on this size block. I'm almost thinking that I might switch over to a cutting plate from Sizzix, a 6x6. Do I have a 6x6 handy? Yeah, I've got a 6x6 cutting plate from Sizzix. Here's a brand new one. That way I've got plenty of room. So if you don't have acrylic blocks and you want to use these, you don't want to go buy acrylic blocks, but you are a die cutter, you absolutely can use a cutting pad without any question. And I think that's what I'm going to stick with right now because these are so big. I'm going to bring over my gush pad. This is a mat that helps you stamp. There's nothing really special about it except for that it's a certain density of foam that works really, really well. It actually comes this size. It's big. We've cut ours in half. I am trying to have these remanufactured because we did sell them really inexpensively and it really makes a difference. So let's see. Can I go here? Yep, no problem. Okay, I'm going to bring over my black color pad ink from Jacquard. This is a waterproof ink, which allows me to use it with just about anything. I can do watercolor pencils, I can do alcohol markers, whether they be Aussie Andrews or Spectrum Noirs or Copics. It doesn't move with water. If you're using Tim Holtz Distress inks, you can play with those, and this will not move. So the Distress inks will move with water like you want them to, but the actual image will stay true and not smear. Schmear. All right, let's pull over a piece of paper. And I haven't stamped with this one yet, so we'll see what kind of, in fact, maybe I even do a back stamp. Maybe I even stamp it like I'm giving it a back massage, because I haven't stamped with it yet, so I'm not sure what kind of impression I'm gonna get. And this is a big stamp, so maybe doing it this way might be a little easier. Now, if you have a stamp positioner, that's going to make life easy, because if you get what's called a hole, meaning you didn't press in one area and the stamp did not transfer. Oh, that looks good. Okay, I'm going to do it one more time. And this time I will stamp into the gouache mat, and let's see if I get a good impression. So I want to ink it up. And let's see if I'm able to get as good of an impression stamping into it. So I want to give good, nice all over pressure. I don't want to do chest compressions because, well, there's no bringing the stamp back. That's not going to help you. I don't want to push too hard because then the stamp will mush. Yeah, see, I got a hole. I didn't press hard enough. Let's turn it around and let's do it again and see if I do any better this time. For me, it may be stamping upside down with these larger stamps. I might have an easier time with it. Paper has two sides. I just rotated my paper over and used the back side. And let's see if I do any better this time. Make sure I press everywhere. Last time I missed a spot. You can take one of the tools that you can slide across. I had one made for me, but I don't see it on my desk right now. Otherwise, I'd grab it. That kind of looks like a air hockey puck thing. Let's see, am I any better? Yeah, a little bit, but still meh. I think for me, I'm going to stick with the inking upside down. I seem to do a much better job with that on a bigger stamp. And again, if you have a stamp positioner, that's not going to be a problem for you because you would just re-ink and press it right back down into place and keep going. So again, I'm just going to do a back rub. However you get it done, that's the way to do it. Whatever's going to work best for you is what you should do. Stamp positioners can be kind of expensive, so doing it upside down like I am can be a help. Yeah, see, it's so much better. Okay, so I've got my stamp done. And now I want to talk to you a little bit about colored pencils. Colored pencils are the thing we use with Gamsol, and we use them with little paper stubbies. These are little paper stubbies, and it it allows the crayon, this is almost, it looks like a crayon, but it's not a crayon. It allows you to take what is like a pencil, and see, you can see why I say it kind of looks like a crayon, because when you color with it, it kind of has that crayon-y look and feel to it. You know, it kind of looks like you've colored with a Crayola, but you haven't. And then I take a little bit of Gamsol and put it in. Zoop. Gamsol uses with a stubby. You put your little paper stubby in there, and then you can turn what looks like crayon into a beautiful soft image. Takes away that Crayola look. See how it melts? Now this Gamsol that we have is odorless, and the stubbies, we've done this recently in the past where we've gone in and we've used the Gamsol and the stubbies to color. So let's say I went in and I added a little bit of yellow. Now, whether you're using colored pencils or watercolor pencils, it's important that you leave negative space. See how I've left negative space all the way around it? I need to be able to move that color into something. And if I colored my whole daffodil yellow, I could move the color and make it not look so crayon-y, but it takes away the opportunity to have highlights and midtones and shadows. Should have got a little Q-tip or something so I could dip that in. So I'm going to take this, and let me see if I can go down. And by adding the Gamsol with a paper stub, and that's all this is a paper stub, I can pull that color out. Leaving it a little darker down towards the bottom and a little lighter up at the top. If I didn't leave that negative space, we couldn't achieve that. Can I add more color? Sure, absolutely I can. Let's say I wanted to go in with a little bit of an orange. Because this is a colored pencil, you can go right away on top. You don't have to wait. Watercolor pencils, you absolutely have to wait. If you're going to go straight pencil to paper. So a little bit of Gamsol. And I'm going to take that orange and I'm just going to pull a little bit of it out. And that Gamsol melts the pencil, giving you an opportunity to play. So colored pencils are definitely different than a watercolor pencil because you're using this Gamsol to melt the pencil. And take away that kind of crayon looking image. And a little bit of orange down here. and I can just go in and color. Here's a good one down here. So a little bit of yellow on all of these petals. A little bit of yellow on all of those petals. And then I'm going to take my Gamsol and I'm going to pull it out. Now again, a paper stub, so you don't want to add so much Gamsol so that it just absorbs into the paper stub. You just want a little bit so that you're not wasting it. And I just pull it on out. And I can keep it very light towards the top. And then I can go in with my orange. A little bit of orange here, a little bit of orange here. And I can take and pull that orange right up and kind of mix it into that yellow. So colored pencils are super easy to use, but you definitely use them differently than you would a watercolor pencil. If I want to add more yellow back in, go back in and add a little bit of yellow. The option is absolutely yours. It's fast, it's easy, doesn't create a mess. But definitely colored pencil versus watercolor pencil. Fast and easy. Come back in with maybe a little bit of my orange. And I'm kind of scribbling it in there. Come back in with my orange and pull it out. And away we go. So colored pencils definitely need the Gamsol and the stubbies. And when you're ready to change the color on your stubby, let me go back just a little bit. When you're ready to change the color of your stubby, you take it and you just sand it. So we did colored pencils not too long ago, and there was some confusion about colored pencils versus watercolor pencils. So here's our colored pencils. Now let's play with watercolor pencils. And can you see this is just sandpaper. There's a kit that we sell and it comes with this, and it's by Crafter's Companion. And when you've used all the sandpaper up and it's no good anymore, you just pull it off, throw it away. And all I'm doing is sanding the paper so that I can move to a new color if I'm limited in my stubbies. Stubbies last forever. They truly, truly do. So let's put this aside and let's take this one and let's play with watercolor pencils. Well, before I do that, let me kind of talk to you about watercolor pencils a little bit. So my watercolor pencils say watercolor pencils on them. They have the word water. If you don't see the word water, you may just have colored pencils. And I think before I do that one, I'm just going to bring a piece of paper over and let's play with them for just a minute. Watercolor pencils were one of the very first things I learned how to do. It is also very easy to use. Makes a pencil into a paint is the best way to describe it. It's a little bit like palette painting. You can palette paint. We just did palette painting in our last YouTube class on Saturday where we used dual tip markers and we were coloring them over here and then adding some water, picking it up in palette painting. You can absolutely do that with your watercolor markers, but watercolor pencils, but watercolor pencils also are great straight to your paper. So if I were to pull maybe a blue and a green and maybe a darker blue. So again, when I color with them, I very much get the same look as a colored pencil. Kind of looks like a crayon. So it kind of looks like a crayon, right? But this time, instead of adding Gamsol to them, I'm going to take a little bit of water. Now, I'm not going to spray my water onto my paper. That is not how watercolor pencils work. I'm also not going to dip my pencil into water. That is also not necessarily how watercolor pencils work. You can dip into your water and then pull the color off, but we'll talk about that in a minute. I'm going to add some water just to my craft mat. I'm going to go in with my paintbrush, pick up my water, and then I can change that pencil into a paint, completely erasing those lines that I drew. And I'm on 100-pound paper. A little bit of water. And I can blend and I can mix. How pretty is that? This is different than colored pencils. Colored pencils, I couldn't do this big of a space. Not with the Gamsol. Very difficult to do this big of a space with Gamsol. And the more I work it, the more I can blend it. They're so forgiving. Now, one of the things you can't necessarily do is, this is wet. Let me go back with the darker one. Hello, darker pencil, where did you, oh. This is wet, my paper is wet right now. if I go back and I put more pencil down while it's wet, depending on the paper you have, it may be a challenge to get those lines out, those scratch lines. Because I put my pencil on top of wet paper. Now you saw when I was playing with the Gamsol, I could go straight on top with my colored pencil without any problem. But while your paper is wet, you don't necessarily want to take your pencil and put it onto your paper because you may have trouble getting those scratch lines out. Now you can absolutely get your pencil wet, a little bit of water, and instead of taking that pencil and going to your paper, because you're going to have the same problem. I took a wet pencil to my paper. I may have trouble and get it. Getting those scratch lines out. That's where when my pencil was wet and it went straight to my paper, it left those scratch lines that are very hard to get out. But if I get my pencil wet and I pick my color up, I can paint like that all day long if I want. Picking my color straight up off my pencil. Absolutely. I can do that all day long. Or if I would prefer, now I'm not going to use this one because this is wet. Before I use this again on paper, I have to let this pencil dry. Can't be wet when it goes down. So let's pick a different color. How about we go back to that super pretty blue? Let me just clean my brush. I also have the opportunity to put my color there. And while this is wet, because I don't want to go on with my pencil, a little bit of water off to the side. Let me go back just a little bit. So I've got a little bit of water here. Pick it up, make a paint, and then I can come in and transfer that there without a problem. But you don't want to take a wet pencil straight to your paper. You can get it down in many different ways. That's not one of them. I could come back and with that super pretty blue, I could just keep making little palettes of color. I don't want to go back on top of here because that's wet. Make pretty little palettes of color. Can I try to do this on a craft mat? The pencil won't bite. It won't transfer onto your craft mat because your craft mat's a non-stick, non-slip craft. Well, mine is a non-stick, non-slip craft mat. You need to have paper that has some sort of a bite to it, any kind of paper, and I'm just using cardstock today. I don't want you to feel that you can't just use what you already own to watercolor. And again, this was the first thing I ever really learned how to do. And you can blend and you can go. Now, I don't know if my pencil's dry yet. It's getting there. Let's see. Water off to my side. So my pencil was dry enough to not create scratches. And I'm just using water. Nothing special about the water, not distilled water, I'm just using water. And because my pencil was dry, it didn't leave those scratches. So watercolor pencils really do an amazing job on blends. They are phenomenal. They also do an amazing job on the coloring, the ombre effect that you can get. So let's take this one. So I've got some nice color there. Gonna use a little bit of water. Turn it into a paint. And you can see how I can get a beautiful ombre with them. That was just one pencil. That was just one pencil doing that. So pretty. And then let's see what this one looks like. I'm going to start down here because this is wet. So backgrounds and sunsets and nightscapes. I'm going to make it into a paint. And then I can start pulling it. And blending it. And let's do one more just for the heck of it. I'm not going to start here or here because my paper is still wet. So I'm going to start down here. There is a huge difference between a colored pencil and a watercolor pencil. And if you're trying to move a colored pencil with water, well, have you ever tried to push a big old boulder up a hill? That's kind of gonna be where you are. You gotta use the right tools with the right product. And you may have purchased watercolor pencils thinking they're colored pencils, or vice versa. They're pretty. They're easy. So I'm not gonna, well, this is pretty dry. I'll tell you, that feels pretty dry. They're very forgiving. And they really give you an opportunity to play. Watercolor pencils, colored pencils. Different, but they look so similar. These are my watercolor pencils. These are my colored pencils. They look almost the same, but what they do is a dramatic difference. So it took me a little longer to learn to work with Gamsol and my colored pencils. It did. It took me a little bit longer to figure out how to get that done. In fact, let's do that right now just so you can see. Let's take this, I'm going to take this black and I'm going to kind of draw along. So I'm putting a little bit of black kind of around the outside of my watering can. Let's grab a little bit of Gamsol. And I'm going to move this on out. Kind of giving me a highlight. Doesn't take long. It's pretty easy. Took me a little time to get used to the Gamsol and how to move it, and I always go around the edges of my stamped image. Let's see. Hello. So if I go just on the top of this one, so I just added my black kind of to the top of that, and then I can pull it down, making that highlight and that mid-tone and that shadow. That's what I'm trying to achieve. Versus doing a black watercolor. So let me put that away. That way I don't get my blacks mixed up. Let's grab a black watercolor. And this time I'm going to add just a little bit, because I'm going to make this into a paint. And I kind of scribbled because I know it's not going to stay looking like that. I'm going to grab my brush. I think I will continue with my flat brush. I'm going to add a little bit of water. And change that into a paint. Now you see me doing this a lot. That's me pulling the water off and the color off. So as I take it further out, my color becomes less and less saturated. I'm not sure which one's going to be easier for you, but I wanted to show you the difference between watercolor and colored pencils. Now if I want to go back in and I want to make my definition here a little bit more while this is wet, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put some black down here. I'm going to get it, because I'm going to cut all this off. I'm going to pick it up a little bit here, and then I can go back and add a little darker color to give a little more definition. I'm pulling off that color because I don't want it to be too much. I just want it to be a little darker on one side and a little lighter on the other. And if I want to go in and color my flowers, can I do that? Sure I can. How about we take that yellow? Let's take this one, and I can go in and add a little bit of color. Very little. A little color goes a really long way. Leave all that negative space. Look at how little color I used. I can always add more color, but it's hard to take the color away. Get my paintbrush wet. And go in and move that color. So I like my paintbrush to have some water to it, but almost dry. So you're going to get similar results in very different ways. So if I want to make that yellow darker, I can either go in and pull the color straight off my pencil by getting it wet, or I can add a little color down at the bottom or on a separate piece of paper and go in and pull that color, making it darker towards the bottom. I want a little more definition at the bottom. The darker my shadow is, the brighter my highlight looks. So I'm just picking that color right up and painting with it. And maybe I want to add some orange. Very little. I need that negative space for that paint to move. Right now it's a pencil, but once I add that water, I need it to have space to move to. Otherwise, I'll have all the same color. No highlight, no definition, no mid-tone, nothing. So I've got a nice little base of orange there. And then if I want to, I can come back and pick up that color so it's much darker down towards the center. I could have used my dual tip markers and palette painted with this, sure. There are lots of different options, lots of different tools. Pull a little bit of that back. That will give you the opportunity to play. Just taking a little bit of that yellow and blending it in. And it's all about what's going to work best for you. Whether you color pencil it, you watercolor it, maybe for you, watercolor means just making beautiful, beautiful ombre backgrounds of sunsets and all sorts of lovely things. And one of the nice things about watercolor is that you can take that light, light blue and you can kind of draw around, kind of color around. This is that light, light blue. And take your brush make sure my brush is clean. And you know how they get that beautiful kind of soft blue around all their images? You see that a lot? A lot of people will do it with a Copic marker, but you can also achieve it with your watercolor pencils, where you just add that soft blue. You see it in lots of designer samples, how they have that beautiful soft blue kind of around the whole thing. Lots of them use alcohol ink markers to get that. But why not just use your watercolor pencils? You can do it. And it just gives you that super soft, faint, not entirely white look around it that then you can trim out. Gives that beautiful watercolor look to it. They're easy, they're fun, they're affordable, and with the stamps, I mean, we're talking not $19.99 for one stamp. Oh no, we're gonna do you get all of it for $19.99. Look at how little of the pencil that I put around that flower right here. Very little. And I'm gonna pull it on out. And instantaneously, I have started to color my flower. So I always go light, light, lighted first, because I can always add color. Easier to add color than to take color away. Make myself my little palette down there. And just dab it in. It's almost like scribble, scribble, scribble. And you're watercoloring. You are watercoloring. It's not messy. It's not difficult. I would just stamp a whole bunch of stuff and sit down and start to play. And remember, pull the water off. As you're pulling the water off, it's allowing that color to desaturate while you pull it out. I always start light. And then I can go in and add more. So I'm using 100-pound cardstock. Can you use watercolor paper? Yes, yes you can. And do I have some? Yes, yes I do. Will watercolor paper make a difference? Yes it will. It's meant to absorb as much water as possible. So watercolor, let's take my yellow. Let's take some orange. Maybe a little darker orange. And then I think my red is good. And let's see what it looks like on watercolor paper. Can you see it just melting? It's beautiful. And I'm just washing one color into the other. And watercolor paper can take the water. It can take oodles and oodles of water. That's what it's meant for. That's what it's supposed to do. Now, picking up from watercolor paper is a lot easier than picking it up from just cardstock. I can go back in because my paper is meant for water. And I can pick up color. You have that opportunity with watercolor paper more so than you will with just standard cardstock. So these are postcards that I'm using. They're the Van Gogh. It's really beautiful watercolor paper. Really, really, really nice. Now, it's a little wet. Can you see how it's not having such an easy time going down? It's not making the same nice, beautiful coloring, like almost like a crayon. And I'm going to have a hard time getting those scratches out. Can you stamp on watercolor paper? Yes, sure. Let's find my trusty dusty block. It's right here. Sure you can. It is going to have a little bit of a texture. You should know that. Now there is cold press and hard press, and some of them have texture and some of them don't. We use the Van Gogh. It's pretty much perfect for everything. It is not an inexpensive paper. I mean, it's not crazy priced, but it's certainly not cheap, cheap, cheap. It is considered a fine art type paper. This is why we get it in the postcard size, because you can use it for just about everything. Put it down. Ooh, that's pretty. Now I might want to give that a second to dry. I'll use a heat tool just to help, because I'm using a different type of paper. On my cardstock, it absorbed right in, right away. Didn't have to worry about it. Here, you think that's enough? All right, let's go with, it's dry. Let's go with this one just to see. Or we can go pink. So a little bit of pink down at the bottom. A little bit of water. And then we'll pull it up. Make it into a paint. And as I'm doing it, pull the water off so my color desaturates the higher I go. Let's see if I can get closer. So water, make it into a paint, and as I pull up, pull it off, and it will start to desaturate my color, because I really just want a hint of it at the top. Just want a hint of the pink at the top. A little bit of water. Make into a paint. And there we go. You have so got this. Little bit of color, little bit of color, water, make into a paint, and pull it off. So I have that highlight, that mid-tone. Almost a dry brush. A little bit of water. Almost a dry brush. Pretty, right? Our basket. a little bit on one side, just a little bit on the other side, a little bit of water. So I put just a little bit on each side, a little bit of water, and kind of have them meet in the middle. A little bit on one side, a little bit on the other side. And kind of have them meet. In the middle. So I can get some highlight on one side and on the other side. Just kind of have them meet in the middle. Pull off all that extra. Because I don't want it to be the same color all the way through. You've got this. But is it watercolor that you want to do, or is it colored pencil that you want to do? Now I'm hoping you see the difference between them. One is not better than the other, they're just different, and it all depends upon what technique works best for you, right? And then the stamps are so lovely. That's the $19.99 deal. I just wanted to play with my watercolor pencils so I could answer some of your questions that we got after using colored pencils. Colored pencil, watercolor pencil, watercolor pencil. All right, you guys. So the bundle is over $90. It's over $90. You get everything you see, everything I showed you. Let's open this one up. Somebody's going to get this one for free. You get the bling. You get the die that I didn't even use today. And you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stamps, all for $19.99. Let me show you samples. Okay, are you ready to be wowed? How beautiful is that? Right? And they have fussy cut and popped to give it dimension. Ooh. Oh, these are so pretty. Here's the die that I was talking about. It's just a beautiful little accent die on the back. It really looks great. And it's not $19.99 a stamp. And when we did them for $12.99 a stamp. It's not even $12.99 a stamp. You're getting the stamps, you're getting the bling, you're getting the die for $19.99. And man, this is a holy smokes artichokes price for sure. Compliments of Couture Creations. So if you love the bundle, that's the only way you can get it, is via the bundle. There will be no open stock. For $19.99, that's just what it is. Oop. Oh, and see, they use the little bling on the butterfly. It just is what it is. I will go ahead and I will do the watercolor pencils. We have a 12 set, a 24 set, and a 36 set. I will do the watercolor pencils for you this week on sale. Well, yeah, on sale. We'll do them on sale. And just in case you want, I'll do the Van Gogh paper as well. And we'll put that on sale for you too. That way, if you decide you want to play and you want to get the bundle and you don't have any watercolor pencils to start with, this is a beautiful set. It's probably a little bit more fine art than it is craft. Do you have to use these? No, you can certainly go find watercolor pencils at your local craft store, your local art supply store. Brunswick is a nicer quality brand, but use what you have if you already have some. Try them, and if they work to your satisfaction, then use them. Especially if you try them on watercolor paper, you will find that they will be far more intense and bright and vivid. But you know, paper does have a reason. So between the bundle and the few little odds and ends that were way back, the few little odds and ends, you will find this all at scrapbookingmadesimple.com or in our retail store. You will find the sale starting soon. Yes, your orders will expedite ship if you follow the cute little terms and agreements that we put in the Make It Monday category. There's a date in there that you need to adhere to. Orders have to be paid for, absolutely. They can't have anything else from any other category, or we don't have it in us to expedite it. It's just us downstairs doing it. But for those of you who know that we try to push orders out as fast as we can, especially the expedite orders, you know that for $19.99, you can't pass up this deal. Holy smokes, artichokes. All right, you guys, it's me, Stacy, Scrapbooking Made Simple, scrapbookingmadesimple.com. I'm gonna say ready, set. I'm gonna head on over and turn the sale on right now. Go. And for those of you who live chat with me today, thank you so much for being with me. I hope I was able to answer some of your questions on the differences of colored pencils and watercolor pencils. Both of them do amazing things, and it really does depend upon, if you're doing a larger area, you may want to do watercolor pencils. If you're doing a small area, you may find yourself with your colored pencils. That tends to be how it goes a little bit. Colored pencils, a little bit smaller area. Watercolor pencils give you a huge area to work with because the color just goes and goes. It turns into a paint. So find it all here at Scrapbooking Made Simple, scrapbookingmadesimple.com. I will see you next time on Thursday for our next event. And this event is good for 1 week or unless the product sells out faster. All right, you guys, it's good to be with you today. Thanks so much. I'm going to go down and have my Zoom with Penny Black. I wonder what they're going to have to show me today. I'm very excited. And thanks, Ozzy Andrew, for all your help with this. We greatly appreciate it. Beautiful samples, you guys. All right, take care, everybody. Bye.